Welcome to our December edition of Let's Get Growing. I hope you're staying warm. Keep your plants warm by watering before a freeze. In December, let's not mow unless you see those winter weeds. If you have winter grass, then you'll need to mow on a regular basis. Remember to water annuals before a freeze, because when the ground is full of water, it'll freeze at 30 or 32. But if it's dry, the ground temperature can go as low as the air temperature. In December, you can start your major tree pruning. Remember, the dead, diseased will need to come out first, anything that crosses and rubs, and take care of the mistletoe while the leaves are gone. We want you to spray dormant oil on your red oaks, your crepe myrtles, your crab apples, and your camellias. Be sure to get those crepe myrtles now so that you won't have crepe myrtle scale this growing season. Also a good time to fertilize those pansies and other winter annuals. Just use a well-balanced fertilizer and water it in thoroughly. Plant your trees and shrubs now. They're on sale. So make sure they have a good viable root system and then go ahead and plant them. Don't plant too deep. Water them in thoroughly and mulch them. Remember, now is the time to put out your wildflower seeds. And mulch any bare spots or newly planted areas so that you have that blanket of mulch that will help protect them from the winter freezes. Last but not least, feed the birds. Today we're going to transplant an orchid, and you probably have seen these in your local grocery store grown in these little tiny pots. They are a smaller orchid. They have smaller blooms, but they do need to be repotted. Let me show you what I mean. This is the decorative container, no holes in it. Then this is the container it was grown in the nursery. And then you can see that it is quite root bound. Now, in its original container, I'm just teasing the roots apart a little bit. In its original container, this was grown in sphagnum peat moss, like they make hanging baskets out of. But we're going to transplant into a friable, loose moisture control potting soil. See, I've just kind of loosened up the roots. So what I've mixed up here is bark mulch and potting soil. And I'm going to add lava rock. And lava rock is porous and it's light, but it'll help maintain moisture but drain. See, it has little holes in it. So I'm just going to mix this up with the lava rock, bark mulch, and you can see this is pine bark mulch, and I use it because it has tannic acid in it and it's very acidic, and it helps the plants grow a little bit better, particularly orchids. Because orchids in their native environment grow on trees. They're epiphytic. That means that they'll live on something, but they're not taking anything out of it. So in its native environment, it would grow on a tree or in a bog area, maybe on a trunk or, you know, a big old log. But you can see there's no roots on the inside. They're all to the outside. So I'm just going to kind of tease them apart. I'm going to add this mixture to the container. And I'm going to kind of build up a little mound in the middle. Then I'm going to spread this little baby's roots out. You can see I'm going to leave it up kind of high in the container. And it doesn't matter if the roots are sticking out, because they're pretty much aerial roots anyway. So you just turn it clockwise, rotate it, fill it. And I have most of the lava rock on the bottom to facilitate drainage. And then you'll notice that this pot has holes all in it. Those are called orchid pots, so that you can get good drainage and also good air movement. And you can see I've left the roots basically on top of the soil. It's anchored in the pot. It's not wiggling, so it's a good, solid planting. Remember, if a plant's moving, it won't root. So don't stuff it in too hard. We just want to barely put it in. And then we'll water it thoroughly and leave it in a bright location. Usually a kitchen window works really well. You can also add decorative rocks, such as this, to add a little contrast and a little interest to the container. Just remember, water thoroughly and then don't water till they're dry. This is going to bloom in the spring and it's dormant during the winter. That's when you repot, is during the winter on orchids. All your other houseplants hold off till spring. So that's a wrap on December, but remember, feed the birds.